Welcome to Sunday Night Live, y'all. So, if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit or you're in the beginning stages of a nonprofit, this live is for you. So, I am doing a Q&A session. I'm doing just different questions that I typically get from people when they get me on the phone. And I'm just sharing the general information that I tend to share with people who have the same questions over and over again about nonprofits. So, this live tonight is really about that. It's really about people who are thinking about starting and like, what are the questions you should be asking yourself and what do you really need to know to be successful? So, if that's something that you need. Make sure you like this post wherever you are, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And then also share it with somebody who needs this information. So I have been talking about fundraising for a while, but I want to switch over to talking about startup for those people who need that information. Hey, Veronica, somebody's birthday is coming up. Hey, Eric, somebody's birthday is coming up. August babies. Welcome to the APP members. So glad to see y'all in the place. And very excited to be here tonight. And y'all, we got some good people online. So if you have questions of people who are literally doing this right now, you can ask these people. So what I want you to do is introduce yourselves, tell everybody where you're from. Virgos, hey. Veronica Leo though. That's all right, Eric. She almost made it. She almost made it. But introduce yourselves, tell us your name, where you're from, and if you do have a nonprofit, tell us about your nonprofit. Give us your mission. Let us know what you do and what you're focused on. Okay. Hey, Lucretia's Body Oils and Sprays. I'm glad you found me too. Hey, Cheryl. I haven't seen you in a long time. How you doing? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just getting caught up with people. Because there's a few people on here I haven't seen. All right. I saw one question that already came in. So if you guys have questions, this is like a Q&A session. This is a free for all about startup. Okay. And we're here to help each other, support each other. So if you have answers you can provide in the chat, I want you to do that too. Okay. Let's get started. Okay. So this is actually a great question. Fly High Burgers, congratulations. Woo woo. They just got their authorized letter from the IRS. What is next? So there are four things I typically tell people to focus on. Four kinds of planning or four areas of focus that you need to have. Somebody say four in the chat, right? And there's a very specific reason why I focus on these four. I'm going to go through each one of them. But this is beyond like your services, right? Like you get your services together, organize that, figure out who you're serving and all of that. But I for your infrastructure, for your administration, to make sure the organization is running and functioning, there are four things you need to be focused on. The first thing has to be a set of goals. You have to be operating on a set of goals. And this is one thing that I've had to realize that a lot of people don't understand about their goals. Your programming, hey Darby, has to be connected to your goals, right? So when you create goals for your organization, you need to think about your programming, you need to think about your admin goals. What are the goals around getting your structure together? What are your goals around strengthening your board? And what are your fundraising slash communication goals? But you need to have goals from year to year. And the reason why you want to have goals is because you need, first of all, to have some baseline so that you can figure out how much you need to grow. And then as you go from year to year, you can compare and figure out what needs to change and what needs to be tweaked. But you also need to give yourself a roadmap. One thing that sometimes people ask me, like, what should I do? You know your goals. You have to understand what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, what you have the capacity to do, but you have to figure that out for yourself, right? Is there a certain number of people you want to serve, a certain number of services you want to provide, and you have to organize it. You got to be organized and streamlined. You can't save the entire world right out the gate. Can somebody say that with me? I can't save the whole world right out the gate. You can't have 10, 11, 15 programs running at once in the beginning. stay focused because you want to have a singular set of goals and you want to have a singular message when it comes to your fundraising. Does this make sense, y'all? Because honestly, I'm just taking the questions as they come. They coming off the dome, so I want to make sure that what I'm saying actually makes sense. So the first goal, the first piece is having a 1 year plan that has your goals in place. 1 year plan with having your goals in place. You should have programming goals. You should have admin type goals, and you should have fundraising and communication slash marketing types of goals. I had to slow it down because I realized, Tiffany, you only said it. You said it one time. And you said it really fast. Programming, admin, fundraising, and communication slash marketing. That's the first piece. The second thing I will focus on is a budget. It is one of the single most powerful tools you can have because a budget forces you to say for yourself, this is how much it's going to cost to run, and this is how much I'm going to ask for. Because when you start engaging with people and they have questions about what you got going on and how much money you need, how in the world are you going to tell people how much money you need if you don't even know how much it costs? And how in the world are you going to get to a point where you can pay your salary? How you going to get to a point where you can write a grant application? How are you going to get to a point where you feel comfortable asking people for money if you can't reasonably say how much it really costs to do the work that you have to do? And what a lot of people do with their budgets, they just do bare minimum. Oh, okay, well, I can get by with just a little bit. But I need y'all to actually scope out what it costs for you to do the work in terms of time, how much people's time is being used, how much effort is required to do the programming, what are the materials you need. Really budget that out. I cannot say that more than enough, right? Yes, this is what I love seeing people in the chat. Hey, y'all on YouTube. I just realized something, y'all, on YouTube and Facebook. I sent an email and I might have put the wrong link in there. Sorry, y'all. I'm just kind of random like that. Somebody said how many programs, and Veronica answered, I would advise starting with one program. I agree. I absolutely agree with that. All right. So the second thing is your budget. First thing is a 1 year plan. Second thing is your budget. The third thing is your fundraising plan. Your budget tells you how much you need to run your programs and run your organization. Your fundraising plan tells you what you're going to do to raise that money. And see, when you only have one program, you can really focus in and figure out the type of funding you need to run that program instead of figuring out, okay, I need this kind of money for this program, I need this kind of money for this program. You can focus and have a singular, like, you can have a one track mind, especially when you're in the beginning. I'm not trying to limit you. I'm not trying to limit you and say you can't do things, but you're trying to get momentum. You're trying to figure out what your donors are most attracted to. You're trying to figure out what you can message well that you don't have to educate a lot of people on, something they can latch on to. And you need to focus on that to get people excited and energized around that. Y'all are popping on Instagram. Okay. I see a lot of questions. All right. So your fundraising plan outlines what the strategies you're going to use and how much you need to raise, right? So if you know from your budget you need a lot of money for staffing, then you need to go after dollars that support staffing. Not every grant is going to support staffing. If you know you need a lot of donated items to do the work that you're going to do, you don't necessarily need to break your back to go trying to get money from people when all you need is donations from people, right? So you got to understand what, from your budget's perspective, like what you need, and then the fundraising plan tells you what you got to do to get it. Make sense, y'all? I see some questions, so I'm gonna circle back. And then, there was a question around, is there a resource that can help develop the budget? I have a video on YouTube that talks about how to create a budget from scratch, and I also have a budgeting masterclass. If you need that budgeting masterclass, If I'm not mistaken, it's $67. DM me and I will send you the link. All right. And then finally, you need some kind of marketing plan. Now, see, I'm not a marketer. Okay. People tell me I am, but I'm actually not a marketer. But what I do understand about business, excuse me, I'm charging up my phone, make sure it don't go dead. But what I do understand about business is this: if nobody knows who you are, then they can't support you. So part of your strategy has to be around marketing. And to make it simple, I just call it visibility. What are the actions you're going to take on a regular basis to make sure that you're meeting new people and that people are discovering your mission and understanding why it's so important to support your mission? The mistake a lot of people make is that they believe that all people need to donate is a donate link, right? That's a mistake people make. They believe that all they need to do to convince people to donate is to send them a link. But people have to become engaged with you. People have to learn about you. People have to understand why they should care about what you're doing. You have to educate them, you have to engage them before you even ask them for anything, really. So part of your planning has to be around how you want to stay visible in your local area and online. So Eric said not the donate link. So y'all, you came out the gate swinging with the question. That was a heavy question, but that was a really good first question. So I'm gonna go back through the comments and see if I missed any questions. I can't. Oh no, that's right. You can't save the world. You can't save the world. All right. I think I got all the questions on this side. Got it. And remember, y'all, we are here to support each other. It's one thing to come and listen to me and hear what I talk about because I like doing videos on YouTube, but please lean on the people who are doing this kind of work. So in Instagram land, Eric and Veronica are they're giving you nuggets, y'all. So make sure you lean on each other and you support each other because we're building a community, right? And also just know um I will be sharing a lot more information about organizations like Eric's Homeowner Prep and like Veronica Victory for Families, right? So I want y'all to tap in, okay? Hey Jackson. Lucretia said, I don't have a nonprofit yet. She put that yet in caps. I'll be calling the Secretary of State tomorrow to get started. Girl, where's the claps? Congratulations. Right. Cups of Joy Inc. said, I am learning that right now. I just did a social media campaign letting people know who we are. All right. That's what I'm talking about. And you got to do it over and over and over again. So here's another question that I typically get. All right. How do you decide if a nonprofit is the route you want to go? Hey, Janine, welcome. How do you decide? I get this question quite a bit. When people sign up to talk to me, hey, Willie, they ask me, well, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think I should be for profit or you think I should be nonprofit? You want to know what I typically tell people? Y'all want to know the secrets? I typically tell people, well, first let's deal with how do you know if a nonprofit is really for you? My answer to that is if you're willing to deal with the fact that this is not something you personally own, you have to kind of relinquish a sense of control over all of the decisions that have to be made. And you have to be able to engage people and work with people to move your mission along. If you're comfortable having to dissect and understand paperwork and deal with the administrative side of running a business, because a nonprofit is a lot of paperwork and you have to understand policies and you have to understand the law and the rules from the IRS and from the state. And if you have to get comfortable talking. You have to get comfortable talking about your nonprofit literally everywhere you go. Literally, it has to become a part of your identity. And the wild thing is, technically, legally, you don't own, like it's not your business, right? The board has control over decisions, but because it's your vision, it has to become a part of your identity because people need to know when they see you, they need to understand that they see your nonprofit, they see your mission, right? Like they need to understand off the bat. Oh, here they come again talking about this. You darn Skippy. When was the last time y'all heard somebody say that? You darn Skippy. People have to know and see you as the person who's always lifting up the mission. And it's not about you always talking about your organization, it's you talking about what you do. It's you talking about the fact that something is not working, something is not right, there's a gap in your community, and you have a solution, you have a key to part of that solution for people. You have to get comfortable. What? Coach is on the live. What's up, coach? I have a question for you. So I need to DM you, coach. So just don't let me forget to comment, right? So part of that, like if you want to have a nonprofit, you got to understand that it requires a lot of maturing in you. It requires you to grow up in the sense that you have to begin to embody the message of your mission. It no longer is about you and what you want to do. That's where you start, but you have to grow and mature into a place where the mission is most important. The mission is the priority, not what you want for yourself, not what you see. I've always wanted this. It has to become bigger than that because you got to get people to buy in, and people aren't just going to buy into your personal mission just because you want it to benefit you. People buy into the mission, and once you get them bought into the change that you're going to create, the movement you're building, then people start coming along. But that's not easy work. It grows you up, and you have to develop as an individual, and you got to grow in your skills of being a leader. And a lot of people start nonprofits because they believe that it's because they can do projects, it's because they can help people. When in actuality, as the founder and the executive director, you are becoming the leader of the organization. You're not the person doing the work. And at the end of the day, when you start hiring and you get people to help you, you got to be able to direct them and lead them in doing the work. You're the person sounding the alarm, you're the person doing the messaging. But a lot of times you have to start to remove yourself from the work in order to grow. And that process, that growing up, that maturing is maturing you into an actual leader, a CEO. And that's way different. That's like a different place than people start out with when they have their nonprofits, right? And so that's what you really need to understand and grasp about having a nonprofit. It's so much bigger than you and what you wanted to do. And it's amazing that you want to help people because we need people like you. We need people like you who are willing to sacrifice their time with their family and time on their jobs to help somebody else. That's amazing. But at some point, it has to be so much bigger than what you want to do, right? So I see some people co-signing in the chat, y'all. The other piece about it with the for-profit versus nonprofit, I'm gonna tell y'all something I tell people on the phone. You know, some people use nonprofits or think that a nonprofit is a strategy to grow their wealth, right? I'm not going to, hate on anybody. There are people online who talk about nonprofits as a wealth strategy. They talk about it as you need to do part of this because you can get this and you can have this if you have a nonprofit. Let me tell you something. That's that's not where I come from. That's not my frame. That's not what I teach. But that's real, right? There are some people out there who teach that. But if you don't own the assets of the nonprofit, right? If you're creating things that you don't own as a part of the nonprofit, how is that a personal wealth strategy for you? You get what I'm saying? So a nonprofit is a part of the impact you want to make on the world. But if you also need like a way to build generational wealth for your family, start a for-profit business, y'all, too. Don't just rely on the nonprofit. Don't just rely on the nonprofit. You probably are surprised to hear me say that, But if you've talked to me long enough, you should know. You should not be surprised. But it has to be, it's not a personal wealth strategy. It's not a generational wealth strategy. It is a strategy that you're using to invest in your community, and that's still powerful. That's still important. But if you're using it as a way to feel like, okay, I'm going to make money, you may make money, but it's not something like you can necessarily easily pass on to your kids, and you can't do it in perpetuity. Am I making sense, y'all? I hope so. Um, so spoiler alert. So on my YouTube channel, I'm going to start doing different types of content for that very reason, because I believe that people need to know how to create nonprofits, but people also need to understand how to work just business in general. So on YouTube, I'm still going to be sharing information every week about nonprofits. I'm not going away from that, but I'm also going to be sharing information about how to get business funding, how to start a business. Like, what do you do? What does this mean? Because I don't think a lot of us understand business credit and business financing, and it can be used as a tool for wealth as well. And when you build wealth on your for profit side, it can support your nonprofit side. So it goes hand in hand, but don't only rely on the nonprofit. Okay. So I see some questions. Let's dive into the questions. Rochelle Scott says, so I'm starting my nonprofit as a springboard for my charter school. Would I be able to use the same nonprofit for the other ventures, or would I need separate nonprofits? So I can't really advise you without knowing way more detail, but I'll just say that that is a heavy load to have multiple nonprofits. That's a heavy load. Um, but it also depends on how it's set up. Sometimes people set up nonprofits and you don't make a lot of income, and it's intentional and it's all volunteer led and whatever. But I don't really know the details. I would just say, having more than one nonprofit is a lot, because one, one is enough. Oh my God. That's what most people say when they get into it. You want to hear it again? Oh my God. All right. So I can't pronounce your name, but I'm going to try. Corona Tusbestus. If you talk about God with a nonprofit, is it different? Different how? Let me just tell you that churches are nonprofits. So you obviously can talk about God if you're a nonprofit. And even if you're not a church and you want to be kind of like faith-based or be based on faith-centered values or something like that, you can do that too. There are nonprofits. There are big nonprofits that have millions of dollars that are based on Christian values. Just look at Lutheran Family Services, Bethany Christian Services. See, in my world, in foster care and child abuse and neglect, they're huge, millions. They're all around the country, and they espouse Christian values. So it's not necessarily a deterrent from you having a nonprofit, but you just got to understand for yourself what your values are, what you're about. You got to understand that there are some people who will accept that, and there's some that won't. And so whatever way you go, it could be both ways. Some people don't want to give you money unless you espouse Christian values. You know what I mean? So it all depends, but it's not at all a deterrent from you creating a nonprofit. Oh, you say Latin for crowned apparel. I hope I got it right. I'm sorry. I jacked your name up. Hey, Cheryl. Lucretia said, I've been in business for 17 years, so my nonprofit will be to educate entrepreneurs and also give startup funding. I love that. That is so needed. And I've been seeing that more and more. And I feel like that's a space to help people, like to help build their businesses. I get so frustrated when I see like, oh, millions of dollars are going to be given to help startups, and then it's loans. So that you're donating money to give people loans. Just give people free money so they can do what they need to do to start their businesses. Ugh, that's a pet peeve of mine. Jess said, is the process the same, faith-based nonprofit? Yes, it's the same. You mean with the IRS? Yes, absolutely. It is the same. Again, if you're a church, which it sounds like you're not a church, there are other things you need to be aware of. There are some differences if you are a church or if you're a school or you're a hospital, but it's generally the same. Kimmy Koo said, can you recap the first 3 things to start the nonprofit? Okay, when I was saying the 4 things you should focus on, so the first thing is a 1-year plan. Second thing is a budget. Third thing is a fundraising plan. And fourth thing is your visibility and your marketing. First thing, 1-year plan. Second thing, budget. Third thing, fundraising plan. And fourth thing, visibility/marketing campaign. All right. So if you're just joining, this is like a Q&A. This is a free for all. Usually I do 3 points, but we off the rails today. Just because it's August and it's my birthday month, we're going to do it up all August. We're going to spice it up this month and do different things. I'm going to have at least 3 special guests this month. So stay tuned for that, y'all. Stay tuned for that. Okay. So here's another question I get. What's the best way to make money when you are a nonprofit? And when you're a new nonprofit, what is the best way? So the way I answer this is the quickest way to get money is to get it from individuals. There are many different ways you can make money as a nonprofit. Many different ways. I have a bunch of videos on YouTube about it. You can ask people for donations. You can sell products. You can provide a service. You can get contracts. You can do sponsorships. You can get grants. You can get government grants, foundation grants, business grants. Grants from corporations is what I meant. There's so many different ways. You can get stock donations and turn it into cash. And there's just so many options now. But as a new organization, the question is, what should you focus on to start with? Because you don't want to just do everything. So as a caveat, I would say you need to do the thing that builds on your strengths and your assets. What capacity do you have? Oh, I forgot events as well. Do you have the capacity to do the work, right? Do you have the capacity to pull it off? Because it sounds like a great idea, but maybe you don't have a strong writer on board yet, and you don't have the capacity to really work on grants, or you're just not at the point where you even have a budget, or you know your programs to create your budget, so you can't really do grants yet. So you do need to kind of assess, like, okay, what are our strengths? What do we have in order to figure out where to go? But honestly, the quickest way to make money is to ask people. And I tell people, if you want to make your seed money, if you want to get seed money, go through your emails, go through your phone, go through your Facebook contacts, and ask the people that you know. Go through your family, go through your friends, go through your coworkers, and ask everybody you know. And you want to make it around a specific ask, right? You want to say something like, okay, we're raising $5,000 because $5,000 will make sure that 10 of our young people will be able to go to Greece. That literally just dropped in my head. And I know it takes more than $5,000 to take 10 people to Greece, but I'm using numbers. I'm using like a goal, something that's attainable, where people feel like, oh, I'm helping a young person. And even if you had their names or you describe them and their experiences and what they've been and where they've been, people gravitate to that, right? So the people who are most likely to give to you are people who already know you, who already believe in you, or have had some kind of interaction with you. So you always start there, and you build from that. And you know what that does? Because I know a lot of y'all like, I'm not asking my family for donations. Or some of y'all are like, my family they full of haters. They are not going to help me. Right? So I get it. It's all across the spectrum. So I feel it through the computer waves. I feel through the Wi-Fi waves that some of y'all are like, I am not asking my family and my friends for anything. But I want to encourage you and push you to do it because it will strengthen you. It will give you the skills you need to get in front of a room and tell a story about your nonprofit, right? It'll build your skill set. It'll build your muscle in asking. And why not do it with people you're comfortable with, people you already know? because they're going to be people who you don't know you got to get in front of, and you may be nervous about that. But hey, you might be nervous about asking your family, and that's good too. You got to build your muscle to ask for money because you have to ask for money. You may not want to accept it, you may not want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. We have to talk about it. You have to talk about money. You can't shy away from those conversations. You have to talk to your board about money. You have to you have to tell your board that they have to invest in the organization. They got to put their money where their mouth is. And if you find that you are shying away from those situations, if you find that you're getting nervous and you're pulling back from those situations, that's the signal to you that you have some development to do. And that's okay. That's okay. At least you know where you are. But if you heard me say that and you were like, "Ooh, I'm not doing that. I ain't doing that." If you heard me say go through your Facebook friends and your reaction was, she tripping, then you got to examine yourself. Because if you're not going to ask them, who you going to ask for money? That's the question. If you're waiting for a magical grant, you're going to keep waiting, because that magical grant is going to be stay where it is in the sky in a vapor somewhere, because it ain't coming. All right. So coach said, when I get nervous, I just remember who it's for or who it's about. Sage advice. I love it. When we do my fundraising challenge, that's one of the exercises that we do. We identify one person. We describe one person who receives the information, like who gets your services. What is that like for them? How does it change them? Why do they need it? Why is it so urgent that they get what you're offering right now? And you probably will get really fired up thinking about it, talking about it. You probably might get emotional. You were so into it. That same passion and that same zeal is what you need to bring to every ask. Allow that to overcome and consume the nervousness, because the nervousness is never going to go away. For most people, asking for money is not an easy feeling because we don't have good relationships with money. Most of us don't have positive relationships or positive histories with money, right? We have toxic mindsets when it comes to money. So when we're asking for money, that stuff bleeds through. But so the nervousness is going to be there, but try to overcome that and consume yourself more with the faces of the people, the smiles of the people, the experiences of the people that will be different because they encountered you. See, I don't even do nonprofit work, but I know the lives you're changing, and I got chills talking about that. So if I got chills and all I'm doing is talking to the people doing the work, I know you have chills. I know you feel that. That same feeling that comes up for you when you talk about why it's so important that your services exist, is that's what you need to bring to your ask every single time. And let me tell you something. See, y'all got me on a good day because I don't have no structure, I don't have no notes, so I'm just going to be talking. You got me on a good day. Let me tell you something. The way you survive is being different. Because people going to tell you, oh, don't be, you know, too raw, or don't stand on who you are. Stand on who you are, because that's what makes you different. And it may be a tougher and a longer road to get to where you need to go, but you will stand out more being yourself. You will stand out more staying true to why you did this. And never forget that. All right. Eric said, family and friends may support at some point. Keep them informed of your success along the way. That's right. Y'all, if y'all not on Instagram, y'all gotta be on both. So y'all gotta be like me. Phone here, computer, you know, because they drop all kind of nuggets on Instagram. Jess said, I've been supported more by strangers. I've heard that over and over again. You know what? When families start getting on board, when they start seeing movement, just like Eric said, when they start seeing your events and people showing up, and they're like, oh yeah, that's my cousin. She has a nonprofit. Wasn't gonna say nothing else beforehand, but when they see you getting recognition, and that's just what it is. People are people. That's all I'm gonna say. People want to people. Okay. Wolfgang, ooh, good one. And then I see a question from Janine. This is a good one, y'all. Y'all ready on Instagram? This is a good one. What y'all think is about? I have friends with loads of money, mm, but asking is difficult. It feels like begging. How many times have I heard that? It feels like begging. I just point them to our site. Will there see a donation button? Wolfgang, first of all, thank you for being so honest. And I want to let you know that you're not alone, that most people that I talk to say the same exact thing. I don't like asking for money, first of all, because I don't like asking for anything and it feels like I'm begging. But the one thing I always go back to, and I said this last week, and I'm going to say it over and over again. When people give to you or when people give to a good cause, it is in most circumstances, they're not doing it because they feel forced to do it. When people give, it's because they want to give. And you may not get it right away. You may not see it right away. But what you got to understand is people actually want to give. People want to know what you're doing. And if they feel like they can support and they can help, they will. Your job is to give them the opportunity. And while I understand sending them to the site is good, it's too passive sometimes, right? You can share with them what you're working on. You can get their advice. The biggest thing I can tell you is when you're afraid to ask for advice. When you ask people for advice, a lot of times they will say, oh, okay, well, what do you need help with? Or you can talk to this person, right? What you're doing when you're asking people is not necessarily asking, you're presenting an opportunity to them. You're laying on the line something that needs to be done, not for you personally. So you're not begging for yourself. You're laying out an opportunity for somebody to do something, right? And you're just telling them the opportunity that exists. It is up to them to decide whether or not they want to do that. And if they do, if they don't, that has nothing to do with you. Now, they may feel like they don't have enough information. They may feel like, oh, well, I want to see more, or I don't quite understand what you got going on. And that's fair. But let's be honest. If you are giving your money to something, wouldn't you want to know what it's for? But a lot of times, because people know you, and if you already have a relationship with you, they trust you already. They already trust you. A lot of times, they don't have to see all the details. They don't have to know all the details. A lot of times, as long as they know that you're doing something and it's this program and you need money for this, they'll support. So it's not your job to guess or think about what they're thinking of you. Because when you say you feel like begging, to me, that's like you're thinking of what they're thinking of you. They see me as a beggar because you're not a beggar, are you? So it's like you think that you're projecting, is what I'm trying to say. You think that they're thinking that you're begging. And when people are asked for money, like that's not it. And if people think you're begging, that's on them because you're not. You got to tell yourself every day, you got to remind yourself every day why you're in this, why you're in this, why you're doing this, right? And stop worrying about what other people think because you could never know. You could never know what other people are thinking. You could never, ever guess. Yes. So Eric said, Tiffany's mindset video is perfect in this situation. You are inviting them to participate in the mission. The blessing of giving is for the giver. Amen. And when you don't give them the opportunity to give, you are robbing them of that blessing. You are keeping them from the blessing. You are keeping them from doing something they like to do. People are happier when they're helping other people. There are studies about that. They're less happy when they're doing things and consuming themselves with stuff for themselves. I think that makes sense. And they're happier when they're doing things for other people. So you're just giving them an opportunity to help somebody else. Janine says, Tiffany, what paid services does your business offer nonprofits? Also, I am on August B-Day, beautiful 8th month, 8th day. Yeah, look at all y'all winter babies, all y'all Christmas babies conceived in the holiday season. That's why we bring so much joy to the world. I don't know about y'all Leos, but the Virgos bring so much to the world, right? So, what paid services? The main way I work with people is through, you can do one-time consultations with me if you want to talk to me on Zoom, up to 90 minutes, and I'll drop the link on YouTube and Facebook, or you can join my membership society, which just closed its doors. It's called the APP Society. And you can work with me every week. So we have calls every week, and I go live every week in the group, and it's all about fundraising. Somebody had a great example. I got a perfect example. The first time I asked my uncle for money at 22, he laughed about it and was happy because I don't ask for much. I'd rather starve than beg. So he was just waiting to help you, huh? He was just waiting and excited to help you. Here's the other thing you want to think about. You don't have any idea who wants to help you if you don't ask. There are people who are literally waiting to help you, but until you extend the invitation for them to do so, they won't and they can't. People are funny like that. They could know you have a nonprofit, and you would think people know that if you have a nonprofit, you need money. But people are weird about nonprofits. People really don't understand nonprofits at all. People think that, money for nonprofits magically comes out the air, that people just get grants and that's how they fund their programming. It just doesn't click for people. Like, it doesn't click that you need money and you're a charity. People just assume you get the money from somewhere else. So a lot of times people don't understand that you need money. A lot of times people don't understand what it costs or what it takes to run your organization. So that's why I said part of the fundraising process is education, is building a relationship so they know that and so they understand. Darby says, do you have your EIN number on your donation website page? Some people do and some people don't. The reality is anybody can look up your EIN. People can look up your letter. People can see your tax forms and your numbers on there. If people ask you for your information, like your tax forms, you have to provide it. So, some people are like, oh, don't just easily give it up. Some people might use it or might try to raise money using the number. I mean, that's a possibility, but I don't really see why you wouldn't put the EIN. It's like I don't really have an opinion about it, honestly. If somebody needs it, they will contact you. So just make sure they can contact you. That's all I'm gonna say. Because sometimes with like people want to donate from their fund or something like that, they need your EIN. Okay, I'm gonna take a couple more questions because I don't want to go too long. All right, Corona said, yeah, he gave me more than I asked. That's right. Closed mouths don't get fed. Can we say that again? Hello. I have a woman at my church that I adore. Her name is Miss Tawilla. And every time, she likes something that a pastor or preacher will say, she'll be like, hello. So I'm going to say to that, hello, closed mouths don't get fed. Couple more questions. Do you have to have board members with the nonprofit? How do you select them? Yeah, I get this question all the time. Yes, you have to have board members. The number of board members is on you, but also depends on your state law. Your state law has a minimum required. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 3. The IRS likes to see at least 3 because you need to have a president/chair, secretary, and treasurer at least. You want to make sure you have that before you go to the IRS. Now, people are like, well, why do I need a board? And that's unreasonable. But when people ask me that question, I realize that they don't quite understand what nonprofits are for. So a lot of people are trying to use nonprofits for their personal, what am I trying to say? Their personal fulfillment, right? They just want to do their thing. They want to run their project. But I would say if you want to just do your thing, then have a project and don't create a whole business in nonprofit, because a nonprofit is really a business, because most people who start their nonprofits incorporate in your actual corporation. So you got to be responsible to the corporation, not to your own personal needs. And that changes once you flip over and become official. So yes, you have to have a board, and the board makes decisions for the nonprofit. You probably will do more the day to day, but the strategic, more like long term strategic decisions should be going through your board. And you need a board to help you strategize. You need other perspectives. You need people to share their networks and fundraise alongside you. And absolutely, your board has to fundraise. And absolutely, your board has to give. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Okay, y'all. A couple more questions. Sorry, I have to plug in my thing. Let's see. There's so many August babies here. Okay. Cheryl said, is it appropriate to ask a donor to pay for specific things like pay for the website, software, or things to help your nonprofit to stay alive? That is absolutely appropriate. You have to assess for yourself who to ask that though. Because some people, it's just, I'm being honest, some people don't want to give to help your website. Some people want to know that their money is going to a service or to buy something for somebody. So you just have to assess for yourself who's the right people to ask that, or how to phrase that in a way that they'd be willing to support that. You can absolutely make the connection, and you should make the connection that by supporting that, more people will be helped. If you can't stay visible, then you can't find the people to serve and get the money you need to buy the things for the people that you're serving, Cheryl. But some donors don't get that. Some donors don't like that. So you just have to feel your way through that. I hope that makes sense. What about insurance for your nonprofit? Do you have any content on that? So I actually, in my nonprofit startup workbook, whoop, whoop. See, my tablet is being funny. It was charged 100%. It just said 100%. Because y'all going to get some of these sound effects today. But in my nonprofit startup workbook, there's a whole worksheet on insurance, on questions you should ask yourself to figure out what insurance you need. Yes, you need insurance. And there's a specific type of insurance called directors and officers insurance that nonprofits need. In the beginning, it may be tough to pay for that. So as soon as you can, look into that because it covers your board when things happen. I don't know how else to say that more eloquently, but an insurance broker is the best person to talk to about that. And insurancefornonprofits.org. Go there. The Nonprofit Insurance Alliance. Insurancefornonprofits.org. I have personally worked with them. They are a great company. All right. And I will end with this question, which is an amazing question that I get all the time. Y'all ready for this question? Y'all ready, Instagram? Thank you for coming on, Corona. Thank you so much. Last question. Can you get paid by having a nonprofit? What say you, group? For all the people in the chat, what do y'all say? What's your answer? I'll give my answer too. Can you get paid by having a nonprofit? Yes. I have a video on this on YouTube. I have a couple of videos on this. Hey, friend. So I do advise you to go check out my YouTube channel, Boss on a Budget, and it's, I think, my second most popular video. The first most popular video is how to start a nonprofit. I think the second one is how to get paid as a nonprofit founder, something like that. So the question is yes, but you just need to be careful because you can't pay yourself. You can't set your own salary. You need to be, if you're going to be the executive director, you need to be appointed into that role. And the board does that. The board sets your salary, they appoint you, and they monitor your performance. So you're just an employee of the organization, and it's not your legal organization. You're just an employee. You can still be the founder, but legally, founder is not a legal status. You understand what I'm saying? It's not an ownership status. It's just that it was your idea. So just keep that in mind, that as the executive director, you become an employee of the organization, And as the executive director, the board sets your salary and all of that. So just keep that in mind. All right, y'all. Look at y'all answering. Yes, yes, yes. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. I did a contest and 2 nonprofits won, so I will be featuring those nonprofits this week. Fruits of Ali, and Plan U. Those 2 organizations won. I'll be sharing some information about them and the other nonprofits that participated, and all of my APP Society members, you'll see more information about them as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you know somebody needs this, please share this with them. Like this video. It helps with my engagement. It helps keep me in people's feed so people can get this information, and tag somebody who needs it. All right. Y'all are amazing. Have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.